Part 3. Munachi was reclining, gazing at the ceiling with furrowed brows, reflecting on her life and the extraordinary circumstances she had faced. She had developed internal strategies to control her inner emotions. With her broken arm pressed against her chest, she nodded in acknowledgement of the repeated cyclones and the traumas she sustained, and she remained a remnant of the wreckage. Her thoughts were deepening. She anticipated a peaceful life, but she would potentially be victimized over and over again. Jean-Claude Sartre, one of her preferred philosophers, asserted that hell is other people. This statement was indisputable. All those she valued had caused her distress, disappointment, or had passed away, leaving her ensnared in a complex labyrinth. She was uncertain about her future course of action. Individuals expected to care for and to guide the vulnerable failed to fulfill their responsibilities, resulting in numerous instances of victimization. Munachi's life was marked by emotional suffering. She was deprived of parental protection, structural support, moral guidance, and a sense of responsibility. If you empathized with Munachis Narrative, kindly like, share, and subscribe. It will help develop our channel. Thank you. Because of her unfamiliarity with her mother, she lacked maternal affection. However, she was nurtured by her grandmother and trusted her father, who acted as her steadfast supporter, until, as a Christian, her father was esteemed and held in high regard by those familiar with him. For several months, she grieved the loss of her relationship with her father, her child, family members, and relatives. She didn't want to remember, nor care to see or speak to any of them. She was compelled to navigate her circumstances independently from a young age, and, irrespective of the conditions, she bore the consequences alone. Her conclusion was drawn from her mother, who departed from the family when she was 2 years old, and extended through Boaz. He didn't kill her, despite her wishing he would. A definitive blow might have granted her peace. Instead, he subjected her to ongoing physical and psychological torment. She persisted as a shadow of her former self, lacking purpose but fury. She was incapable of love, trust, or hope for anything beyond her current suffering. She brainstormed how to blend the past, her current condition, and the future. She believed that attempting to circumvent the path that others had predetermined for her was ultimately futile. Perhaps that was a journey that would shape her understanding of life. Boaz condescendingly spoke to her and restrained her as if she were an unvalued pet. His relentless verbal insults heightened her bitterness and resentment towards him and all those responsible for her distress. Boaz physically assaulted Munachi with his fist, aiming to harm her, undermined her mental health, and subjected her to humiliation to instill a sense of worthlessness and foster the belief that she could not attain any positive outcomes. He was making sure she believed it. With every challenge, she felt an overwhelming belief that life would crush her. He told her that she was simply an object he had obtained to serve his purposes and fulfill his needs. He could utilize her at his discretion and dispose of her at will. She shouldn't consider running away. Fortunately, that period had come to an end. Fortunately, because of her youth, her fractured arm recovered swiftly and without any complications. Opening the window, she inhaled the fresh air. She murmured under her breath, "I'm really from Boaz's reach." No longer would she bear the burden of his cruelty. Owing to fatigue, Munachi retired to her bed and drifted into sleep. However, shortly thereafter, she awoke from the same nightmare, with her father's voice resonating sharply within her mind. She was condemned to bear the burden of this grievous knowledge during her waking hours and to be tormented by nightmares during sleep. What a hypocrite. It was profoundly ironic for him to claim to be a Christian while uttering such heartbreaking words to a human being who was his child, his flesh and blood. Would Jesus desire the same for any of God's creatures? Certainly not in a billion years. After a period, she knelt in prayer, seeking the alleviation of her suffering. She aspired for those entrenched words to be removed from her memory. She returned to bed, restless and tossing throughout the night, but sleep remained elusive as ever. Sunlight entered the room. With a smile, she opened it to acknowledge God who had kept her yet alive and entrusted the day into his care, beseeching him to infuse her life, too, with rays of sunshine. Subsequently, she commenced her daily routine. Munachi reflected retrospectively, smiling on her 19th birthday. She was commemorating another year of life. She was alone, as she always had been. She was not overwhelmed by challenges. However, at that moment, she was peacefully immersed in the grace of God. She gathered her thoughts to abstain from feeling, shedding no tears, and experiencing no sorrow, sadness, grief, pain, or nostalgia that might imply the influence of malevolence had subdued her. Instead, she inhaled and exhaled, expressed gratitude to God for a new day and a new year, and celebrated another birthday. She smiled and approached life incrementally, guided by her faith in the Lord. Munachi considered herself fortunate. After all her hardships, she was celebrating her 19th birthday. Elliot presented himself to her as an angelic figure owing to his benevolence. She felt a sense of safety and gratitude for being rescued from the physical and emotional suffering inflicted by Boaz. Suddenly, she heard the doorbell ring. Feeling unsettled, she had never received a visitor before, not even Elliot, who helped her acquire the apartment. Did Boaz discover her residence? She positioned herself beside the door to open it. Elliot was carrying a bouquet of fragrant yellow roses. His facial expression was invaluable. She smiled in appreciation, showing her gratitude for the kind gesture. She accepted the bouquet and extended her hand for a handshake. Instead, he embraced her and smiled. Elliot, consistent in his kindness, cared for Munachi as a brother would for his sister, with the primary aim of helping her overcome her distress. He offered no words of romantic affection. Notably, that was precisely what she desired. She approached his friendship with the utmost caution, optimism, and gratitude for the emotional support he provided, support she had never received from anyone else, while hoping that his presence might serve to deter Boaz should he discover her place of residence. Furthermore, he assisted her in ceasing her alcohol and marijuana consumption. He expressed his desire to help restore her faith in the Lord. It was not that she lacked belief in God, rather she was too distressed to pray. Following several days of silence, Elliot re-established contact with Munachi. He delivered some items she might find necessary. She accepted the bag with gratitude, smiling. Weeks turned into months, during which Munachi's friendship with Elliot deepened. She endeavored to preserve the friendship owing to his amicable disposition. Subsequently, the relationship developed, with him often initiating communication with her. She regarded him favorably but hesitated, uncertain of what to expect, which rendered her uneasy. Should she decide to continue residing there, or depart from the house of peace she had known since her grandmother? She would occasionally reflect upon her past. However, she would dismiss these memories promptly, trusting in God's plan for her life. Regardless of the circumstances, she would await his guidance. Feeling weary, around 9 o'clock, Munachi was already in bed. In a moment of lucidity, she basked in thoughts of the future. A future. At the thought, she nodded, her face impassive. Someone was at the door. She asked if someone was there. It was Elliot. She opened it cautiously. Elliot entered with a smile. She was in bed, she said, and proceeded to her bedroom. He followed her into the darkened room. She promptly turned on the lamp at her bedside. They both sat on the bed and talked. She clasped her hands in her lap. He gazed at her and gently lifted her chin to kiss her, but she remained reticent. He acknowledged her hesitation and embraced her. His facial expression was unsettling. She couldn't decipher the nature of his expression, whether it conveyed understanding, compassion, infatuation, or love, because it remained ambiguous. They lay together in bed. His arms held her possessively. She made no resistance, remaining still, as she wished to avoid any missteps. During the night, he turned his face toward her and rested his head on her chest, attentively listening to her heartbeat. She smiled as she sensed his gentle kiss upon her chest. While reclining on her back and contemplating her vulnerability before Elliot, whose influence on her life had now become markedly profound, Munachi thoughtfully evaluated and accepted his proposal, albeit not wholeheartedly. She sought companionship to avert the sensation of utter solitude. She appreciated the moment and the warmth he offered without expecting love, as she lacked the capacity to give or receive such affection. She fell asleep while reflecting on the possible emotional repercussions of their interaction, contemplating the appropriate course of action, should it prove more detrimental than beneficial. During the late hours of the night, Munachi's mind was frequently filled with profound curiosity and anticipation regarding Liam, her first love. Did he occasionally consider her as she did? What might he be engaged in at this very moment? She nodded and reflected. If only Liam knew the extent of the harm his betrayal had inflicted upon her. Sighing, she shifted onto her stomach in an effort to fall asleep. Munachi was unaccustomed to receiving this type of affection or intimacy from others except for Liam. 1 year later, she experienced disillusionment and overwhelm, feeling as though she was sinking upon discovering her conception. Conversely, Elliot was elated by this revelation and had long desired a daughter. His wish was fulfilled several months subsequently. He developed a deep affection for his daughter. He never raised his voice at Munachi for any reason. Munachi did the same. They were comfortable together. She gave him the loyalty and respect he deserved. She was content to be with him. He took care of his child and was the only person who never abused her in any form and respected her beyond expectation. He made her no promises. She never asked for any and never questioned him about his whereabouts. Munachi and Elliot were residing independently. He was living with his aged uncle. Therefore, if he returned home late or did not return at all, she would be unaware and not concerned about his whereabouts. This arrangement was ideal for her. He visited her as he pleased. Everything was fine between them, but hoping for lasting happiness was unrealistic. Since Elliot, she had lived without further anxieties or concerns of being physically or mentally abused. However, she never anticipated receiving such an unforeseen blow from him, as he did not appear to be the type of man capable of committing such actions. 1 year after their child's first birthday, he fathered a child with a woman who possessed greater maturity and independence than Munachi. She did not speak a word to him, seemingly unaware, but she discreetly left with her child, who was under 2 years old at the time. Subsequently, she leased a month-to-month apartment from a private residence. During her 3rd week at the residence, they extended an invitation to Munachi's child for a playdate. She proceeded upstairs for her daughter's playdate. The likelihood of renting an apartment from Boaz's acquaintances or relatives was exceedingly low, given the vastness of the state. Munachi observed the mantelpiece, where photographs of Boaz were displayed. The couple greeted them with smiles. Munachi was surprised to see multiple photographs of Boaz. Regrettably, the residence belonged to a relative or acquaintance of his. The following day, she left a note before her departure, expressing her gratitude. Subsequently, she adopted a nomadic lifestyle because she was unable to regulate her thoughts and emotions. It may take several years for both Boaz and Elliot to locate her, or perhaps they may never find her. Munachi provided her telephone number to several co-workers, who might have shared it with others. Ultimately, the number reached her family. Gazing into the mirror, she contemplated her propensity to self-blame for her shortcomings and perceived herself as lacking the resilience to withstand her abusers, viewing herself as cursed. Munachi nodded and focused on the child who needed her assistance, and her motivation stemmed from a desire to improve her life for her child. She no longer dwelled in despair, remained in survival mode, nor petitioned for death. Her primary concern was her child. She kept herself engaged, committed to the gift God bestowed upon her, which was life, and employed it to stimulate her intellect. Munachi had not only secured employment but also enrolled in evening classes. She had not seen or heard from anyone who knew her. This suited her. However, one day, at a store, an individual touched her shoulder with a smile. The woman introduced herself and inquired whether Munachi recognized her. She responded with a nod. The woman stated that Munachi's mother was her friend and expressed concern, even mentioning that Munachi's mother believed that she had perhaps passed away due to several years of no contact with anyone. The woman stated that Munachi's mother had said that Munachi remained silent for many years. She casually remarked that, as the woman was aware, Munachi had passed away, and that the entity standing before her was Munachi's ghost. She departed without casting a backward glance. Throughout her life, Munachi drifted aimlessly, akin to the ghost she professed to be now, confronted with the exigencies of survival and the responsibility of supporting 2 children, she was compelled to persevere and fulfill her maternal duties as ever. Tears streamed down her cheeks. The death she had long desired many years ago, now she earnestly prayed would pass her by as she bore responsibilities to fulfill. She was resolute in her effort to work even harder to ensure her children lacked nothing. Her profound anxiety, which evolved from nervousness to depression, disrupted her sleep patterns. She was uncertain about how to alleviate her worries. However, they continued to intensify. She desired to live to nurture her children, witness their growth, and establish a career to support their future. Several weeks later, at approximately 7:00 p.m., Munachi's telephone rang. It was a call from the past, a call she had never expected, telling her that her presence was urgent, a call informing her that her father was approaching the end of his life. This call interrupted her cherished silence and caused her frustration, a call that made her body tremble in fury, a call that made her hold her fists as if she were ready for battle. Why would anyone contact someone to whom they wished death? They should have thought about her past pain that had created deep wounds and created a heavy burden. Her father demonstrated that her life held no significance to him. Why would they contact her, someone whom he wished death to? That phone call altered everything, especially her thoughts, which lately she had endeavored to soothe and had now become more intricate. That situation brought conflicting emotions. Munachi felt anger, guilt, confusion, and even relief. She felt that her feelings were valid, for she represented nothing to him for a long time. She acknowledged her feelings and theirs, but the door for communication and reconciliation is closed. She reflected on whether she wanted closure, but truth be told, she had been through enough. Therefore, she was okay with the way things were. Besides, what good would visiting him do to either of them? The aphorism, "A broken mirror cannot be repaired." So no one could undo the wrongs done to her. Her feelings towards everyone were irrevocable as well, so why try to reconnect with her? Although her mind was unsettled, conversing with them distressed her further. Why did they pursue her where she had concealed herself? She expressed her gratitude for their notification. She recalled the love, affection, hugs, and kisses he bestowed upon her on his arrival home. She nodded and smiled. She endeavored to express her gratitude for their notification, recalling the love, affection, hugs, and kisses he bestowed upon her on his arrival home. She nodded in acknowledgement. However, she was no longer the individual they once knew. Due to emotional numbness, she felt no resentment toward anyone. She was unconcerned with his financial status. Love does not require monetary wealth, as it is too valuable and irreplaceable. All that is needed is for it to be expressed. At this juncture, she was indifferent to whether anyone lived or perished. She thought that he was an exemplary father who demonstrated his affection for her beyond measure. That was before his new family entered the picture, leaving her isolated from him and pushed into an abyss. She came to the understanding that his affection didn't constitute love. He might display similar behavior towards all other children. If he genuinely loved her as a father, he would not discard her for any reason, because blood is thicker than water. Following Munachi's father's remarriage, she occasionally considered inquiring whether she was adopted. However, she considered such an inquiry as inadvisable, given her resemblance to him and the absence of any evidence of infidelity between him and her mother. Suddenly, the numbness was replaced by intense anger. She found herself overwhelmed by a tumult of emotions and was uncertain how to interpret or respond to this complex information. The love and the pain she had suppressed for many years emerged in full force. She wanted to scream to leave her alone and to express her feelings to free herself from the pain she carried. It was a burden entrusted to her for an extended duration, and it proved to be excessively burdensome for her to endure any longer. She experienced distress due to her hesitation in expressing her feelings concerning his desire and abandonment during her most vulnerable periods. She was uncertain whether, upon her arrival, he would be able to answer some of her inquiries. She wished to ask why he had closed his heart to her and chosen another family over his own child. The caller kept talking, but Munachi was in another era. Suddenly, she was overwhelmed by a surge of sobs that threatened to suffocate her, leading her to drop the phone. She chose to refrain from hearing the details of her father's illness, as her distress inhibited her sobbing and rendered her apathetic. She thought that due to his abandonment, she was compelled to endure hardship alone. She was perplexed. Why had she been summoned? What actions ought she to undertake? Should she involve herself in his well-being when he exhibited no concern for hers during her vulnerable period? His kidded family was around him. Therefore, why was Munachi called? Let them be concerned and leave her out of their close family unit. He cast her into an infernal abyss, and now they have summoned her. What would be the most appropriate approach to address this matter? Should she receive that information with great joy or sorrow? Her father was the deepest desire of her heart, and then he gave her the worst nightmares. Her father, whom she revered, became her hero, turned villain, causing her ongoing distress. For a time, news of his hospice condition alleviated her long-held emotions. For a brief moment, she longed to hold, embrace, and kiss him, as she had during her childhood when he returned home. She could hear his laughter and could feel the love he bestowed upon her as he tickled under her neck. If she were to see him, the excruciation might diminish. Suddenly, his exclamation echoed within her mind. "I wish you were the one who had died instead of your sister." He expressed a desire for her death, suggesting that she no longer occupied a position in his life. However, life had an alternative purpose for her. If you empathized with Munachis Narrative, kindly like, share, and subscribe. It will help develop our channel. Thank you. She had encountered numerous hardships. Indeed, she had learned to live both with and without essential resources, yet she persisted in breathing the natural oxygen God provided. The actions and statements of Munachi's father, coupled with the indifference of life, have significantly shaped her emotional responses and influenced her perceptions and attitudes towards certain individuals, particularly her parents' harsh conduct. He attributed the incidents that affected her. He subjected her to physical and emotional trauma, subsequently neglecting and dismissing her as though she were a pest that had perished long ago. There were instances when she experienced profound depression to such an extent that she attempted to fall asleep while heavily medicated, in an effort to avoid awakening and to escape that state, aiming to mitigate the repercussions of his words echoing in her mind. She reflected on the reasons behind their call, which haunted, tormented, and enraged her. Why did they unearth the emotions she had inhumed? Her heartbeat exhibited a melancholic intensity. The memory of their shared moments of playing together provoked a silent tempest within her mind. Did he ever think their love before his new family came into the picture? His conduct towards her, his violent action that sent her to the hospital, and the words he expressed that caused her psychological trauma. Did he think of them? The anger and resentment emanated from the core of her abdomen. She felt compelled to scream. Why did they contact her? It would have been preferable without the information they conveyed. She approached everything with subdued intensity. It was undeniable that he loved her once. He was, after all, her father. These complex thoughts perplexed her. Upon learning of her father's hospice illness, she felt compelled to attend church, a practice she had not engaged in since departing from his residence. She offered a modest prayer, beseeching the Lord to preserve his life until she had the opportunity to see him. Thereafter, she wished for God to release him. This prayer was part of her daily routine. They contacted her a second time. However, this occasion was different from their initial call. She engaged in a meaningful conversation, expressing that she could not forsake her children, who were her primary concern and were currently attending school. They were scheduled to commence their recess within a few weeks. She assured them that she would undertake the journey to be present. They contacted Munachi once more, informing her that her father was unresponsive and that she would not arrive in time. She responded that he might die, but not before she saw him, talked to him, and wanted him to know that she was still alive despite everything he had put her through. She bid her farewell and terminated the call. Her reply could be taken as an apologia, as an admission of defiance that he might die, but it was okay. Munachi was scheduled to travel with her cousin and their children. Their itinerary was coordinated. A total of 6 tickets were purchased, 3 for her and the other 3 for her cousin. She called her cousin to inquire why she wasn't aboard the aircraft. Her cousin and her children arrived 30 minutes before boarding. Furthermore, a TSA delay left them behind, and the plane departed without them. Her cousin and her children would subsequently follow later. Munachi sat in the aircraft with a racing heart. Painful memories flooded her mind. The atmosphere was calm, but she was filled with anxiety, thinking about how disconnected she'd been with everyone, especially her son. She was thinking of taking a courageous action, and what she would say, and how she would comport herself in front of everyone who had mistreated her, had left profound trauma. She didn't know what the journey meant for all concerned, but she would talk to them without hesitation. She should muster her strength to remove the psychological pain she sustained. Would she really be able to express her emotions freely? The powerful wall she built around her heart, the secret room she locked in her emotions, would she open it to let her feelings flow? If she revealed the truth about what was done to her, how would they take the secrets she had been hiding for many years? Would they say she was lying about individuals they took for good? How would she reclaim her peace of mind? Her thoughts spiraled through arguments and harsh judgments. Each memory felt like a weight on her heart, but this journey could change everything for better or worse. She breathed deeply to center herself. Breathing could calm the storm of thoughts raging in her. Munachi's children fell asleep on her shoulders, and she, too, due to mental exhaustion, fell asleep for hours. The trip was long and tiring. As the aircraft descended, she visualized a safe, loving father, calling and playing with her. That daydream brought a smile to her face. The tension she felt in her chest subsided. However, Munachi had something more important to reflect on. Her son, whom she left when they sent her away. He was now a teenager and a stranger to her. Question flooded her mind. How would they communicate? How did he feel about her? Could she be able to face the past and share it with her son? Would he understand if she told him the truth? Miscommunication or ignorance of the fact might lead him to think he had been neglected. It was true, but she was forced to turn her heart away from him. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in anticipation as she grabbed her shoulder bag more securely. Thoughts raced through her mind, for she didn't know exactly how to address the past. Everything replayed in her mind. As she recapitulated everything, tears were threatened to flow. With each step on the tarmac, her heart raced, fueled by anger and the pain of abandonment, strengthening her resentment towards the people who shaped her life and sentiments. She felt a storm brewing inside. As she approached the terminal, memories of neglect and betrayal flooded her mind like dark clouds. Munachi knew that the moment she had never thought she would face in life was now crucial. She had to confront the ghosts of her past. Munachi took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the airport's bustling energy surrounding her. Each hurried traveler, and even her children, seemed unaware of her tidal wave of emotion churning within her. As she walked through the sliding glass doors, the chill of the air conditioning contrasted sharply with the fire in her belly. She took an Uber from the airport, and her demeanor changed. Dread of determination danced inside her as she took a final step toward a confrontation years in the making. She needed total control, otherwise she would completely go mad. Munachi's heart raced as her daughter looked at her and asked, "Mom, are you okay?" Munachi smiled at her as she noticed her child's worries. She replied, "Yes, my love, Mom is okay. I was thinking, it's been so long since I left home. That's why I paced out." She gave her mother an inquiring look and let her words hang between them. The burden of unshared history consumed her. How could she share her unwanted and dirty past with her precious child? She was so young, she might not even understand. Munachi said, "I have things on my mind." With a deep breath, she held her daughter's hand and kissed it. Turning her neck, her son was fast asleep against her shoulder. Arriving at their destination, she took her luggage and her children and entered. They took showers, ready to face her father. Each minute stretched painfully, wondering if he was aware of his surroundings and if he could communicate with her. With a deep breath, she prepared to unlock, push, and open the door of her memories wide, ready to confront those who had hurt her and haunted her sleep for so long. If Munachis Narrative resonated with you, kindly like, share, and subscribe. Your support will help develop the channel. I thank you in advance. Stay tuned for part 4 of Munachis Narrative. Thanks for watching.